Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the exploration ship Wanderer, watching the planet grow larger on the main screen. Kepler 442b looked like Earth from space, with blue oceans and white clouds swirling around green and brown continents. But this world was not empty like so many others they had found. This one had cities. This one had life that could think and build and maybe even talk. "Captain, we're getting signals from the surface," said Lieutenant Amy Price from her communications station. Her fingers moved quickly over the controls as strange sounds filled the bridge. "It's definitely artificial. Someone down there is trying to talk to us." Jake nodded and looked around at his crew. Dr. Lisa Grant sat at the science station, her dark hair pulled back as she studied the readings from their sensors. Commander Tony Brooks stood near the weapons console, his hand resting on his sidearm, even though Jake had ordered all weapon systems to remain offline. At the pilot station, the ship's computer showed they were in perfect orbit around the alien world. "Any idea what they're saying, Amy?" Jake asked. "Not yet, sir. But the computer is working on it. The pattern looks like it might be some kind of greeting or maybe a warning, hard to tell." Jake had been preparing for this moment his whole career. Humanity had been traveling between the stars for over 50 years, but they had never found another species that could build spaceships or send radio signals. There had been plenty of animals on other worlds, some of them pretty smart, but nothing like this. "Lisa, what are you seeing down there?" he asked the ship's xenobiologist. Dr. Grant looked up from her instruments with excitement in her eyes. "Captain, this is incredible. I'm reading massive settlements across 3 continents. The architecture looks advanced, maybe even more advanced than ours in some ways, and the life signs—" She paused and checked her readings again. "They're big, sir, really big. Most of the intelligent readings are showing creatures that are at least 8 feet tall, maybe larger." "Dangerous?" Commander Brooks asked, his voice tight with concern. "Unknown," Lisa replied. "But they're definitely the dominant species on this planet. I'm not detecting any other large intelligent life forms. Whatever these beings are, they're the only ones running the show down there." Jake felt a familiar sensation in his stomach, the same feeling he got when he was hunting back home in Montana. It was the feeling of being watched by something that might be watching him back. He had learned to trust that feeling over the years. "Amy, have you made any progress with their language?" "Yes, sir. The computer thinks it has the basics figured out. They seem to be inviting us to land at coordinates they've sent us. There's a large open area near one of their cities that looks like it might be designed for spacecraft." Jake made his decision. "Prep the shuttle. Lisa, Tony, Amy, you're with me. We're going down to meet our new neighbors." An hour later, their small shuttle broke through the atmosphere of Kepler 442b. The world below was beautiful but strange. The trees were taller than Earth trees, with silver bark that reflected the light of the system's yellow sun. The grass was more blue than green, and strange bird-like creatures flew between the branches on wings that looked almost like metal. "There." Amy pointed through the shuttle's window. "That's where they want us to land." Jake saw a large cleared area surrounded by what looked like a small city. The buildings were made of some kind of smooth gray material and rose up in elegant curves that seemed to grow from the ground rather than being built on top of it. At the edge of the landing area, Jake could see figures waiting for them. Even from this distance, he could tell they were large. The shuttle touched down with a gentle bump, and Jake felt his heart beating faster. Through the windows he could see the aliens approaching. They walked on 2 legs like humans, but that was where the similarity ended. They were covered in thick silver fur and had long snouts filled with sharp teeth. Their ears were pointed and mobile, constantly moving to catch sounds from different directions. Most striking were their eyes, which were large and golden and seemed to glow in the afternoon light. "They look like wolves," Lisa whispered. "Giant wolves that learned to walk upright." "Armed wolves," Tony added, pointing to the weapons hanging from their visitors' belts. "Those look like some kind of energy weapons." Jake opened the shuttle door and stepped out onto the alien world. The air smelled different here, cleaner somehow, with a hint of something like pine trees, but not quite the same. The gravity felt a little lighter than Earth's, making each step feel slightly bouncy. The largest of the aliens approached him. It stood nearly 9 feet tall, with scars across its silver fur that spoke of old battles. When it opened its mouth to speak, Jake could see rows of sharp teeth designed for tearing meat. "Welcome, star travelers," the alien said in heavily accented but understandable English. "I am Growl Singer of Stone Paths, pack leader of this territory. You honor us with your presence." Jake had prepared a speech about peaceful intentions and cultural exchange, but something made him stop. The alien was staring directly into his eyes with an intensity that made him uncomfortable. Those golden eyes seemed to be looking for something specific, searching for some kind of answer to a question Jake didn't understand. The silence stretched on for several seconds. Jake's crew shifted nervously behind him, and he could feel Tony's hand moving closer to his weapon. Then suddenly the alien's expression changed. The intense stare became something else, something almost like recognition. Growl-singer-of-stone-paths stepped back and made a gesture that might have been a bow. "You have the eyes of the Huntmaster," he said, his voice filled with what sounded like respect. "You are kin to us, Softskin. Your people know the way of the true predator." Jake felt a chill run down his spine. He had no idea what the alien meant, but something in those golden eyes seemed familiar. When he looked at the other aliens, he saw the same recognition in their faces. They were looking at him and his crew not as potential prey or even as equals, but as something else entirely. "I'm not sure I understand," Jake said carefully. The alien's mouth opened in what might have been a smile, showing those sharp teeth. "You will, Huntmaster. You will." 3 months had passed since the first meeting with the Velthera, and Captain Jake Morrison still could not shake the memory of those golden eyes. The Volf-like aliens had treated the humans with unexpected respect, calling them Huntmasters and kin. Jake had tried to understand what they meant, but the Velthera would only say that humans carried the mark of the true hunter in their eyes. Now the Wanderer was approaching a new world, one that burned red in the darkness of space. Pyros Prime was a volcanic planet where the ground itself seemed to be on fire. The air shimmered with heat even in space, and through the ship's sensors, Jake could see rivers of lava flowing across the surface like glowing veins. "Captain, we're receiving a transmission from the surface," Lieutenant Amy Price announced from her station. "It's coming from what looks like a massive city built right into the side of an active volcano." Jake looked at the main screen where the alien city appeared. It was unlike anything he had ever seen. Huge towers of black stone rose from the mountainside, carved with designs that seemed to move in the flickering light of the lava flows. Bridges of what looked like crystallized fire connected the towers, and at the very top, a palace of red and gold metal caught the light of the system's orange sun. "What are they saying, Amy?" Jake asked. "They're demanding to know who we are and what we want." "The tone sounds pretty aggressive, sir." "They're calling themselves the Carnith Empire, and saying this is their territory." Dr. Lisa Grant looked up from her science station, her face pale. "Captain, the readings I'm getting from down there are disturbing. The planet shows signs of massive environmental damage. Entire ecosystems have been destroyed, and the life signs—" She paused, checking her instruments again. "There's only one intelligent species down there. Just one, but the planet should be able to support dozens of different intelligent life forms." Commander Tony Brooks stepped forward. "Could be they wiped out the competition, sir?" "Wouldn't be the first time a species did that." Jake felt that familiar sensation in his stomach again, the hunter's instinct that told him he was looking at something dangerous. "Open a channel, Amy. Let's see what they want." The main screen flickered and suddenly filled with the image of something that made Jake's blood run cold. The creature looked like a dragon from Earth's old stories, but this one was real and very much alive. Its scales were deep red with edges of black, and its eyes were like yellow fire. When it opened its mouth to speak, Jake could see rows of sharp teeth designed for tearing apart large prey. "I am Flameheart Devourer, overlord of the Carnith Empire. the creature said in a voice like grinding stone. "You will explain why you dare enter our domain, small creatures?" Jake straightened his shoulders and tried to look confident. "I'm Captain Jake Morrison of the Earthship Wanderer. We come in peace, seeking to establish friendly relations with your empire." The dragon's head tilted to one side and those burning eyes focused on Jake with an intensity that made him want to step back. For a long moment, the alien said nothing, just stared at the human captain as if trying to solve a puzzle. "Chief Engineer Ben Carter and Pilot Nicole White will accompany me to the surface," Jake announced to his crew. "We're going to meet with their leader." 2 hours later, Jake found himself standing in the throne room of the Carnith Palace. The walls were made of black volcanic glass, and the floor was covered with what looked like bones from creatures Jake could not identify. The air was so hot that sweat ran down his face despite the environmental suit's cooling system. Flameheart Devourer sat on a throne made from what appeared to be a single massive ruby. The dragon was even more impressive in person, easily 20 feet long from snout to tail, with wings that could probably carry him across continents. Around the throne room, other Carniths stood watching the humans with those burning yellow eyes. "Interesting," the Overlord said, leaning forward to study Jake more closely. "You carry the mark of the true hunter? Your species has walked the path of culling, haven't they, small one?" Jake felt his heart skip a beat. It was the same thing the Velthra had said, the same recognition in an alien's eyes. "I'm not sure what you mean." The dragon's mouth opened in what might have been a smile. "Oh, but I think you do. Look around you, human. What do you see?" Jake looked at the bones scattered across the floor, at the empty spaces where other species might have built their own cities. "I see your empire. You?" "See the result of 10,000 years of proper governance," Flameheart Devourer corrected. "When my ancestors first developed intelligence, this world was crowded with other thinking species. 17 different races, all competing for resources, all believing they had the right to exist alongside us." Ben Carter shifted uncomfortably beside Jake. "What happened to them?" "We eliminated them," the dragon said simply. "One by one, species by species, until only the Carnith remained. It was not cruelty, you understand, it was evolution. The strong survive, the weak become extinct. This is the natural order." Nicole White took a step backward. "You committed genocide." "We committed survival," the Overlord replied. "And you understand this, don't you, Huntmaster? I can see it in your eyes. Your species has done the same thing. Perhaps not as thoroughly as we have, but you have walked the same path." Jake felt sick to his stomach, but he also felt something else. When he looked into the dragon's burning eyes, he saw something that made him deeply uncomfortable. He saw something familiar. "Your people eliminated your competition?" Flameheart Devourer continued. "I can smell it on you, the scent of a species that has removed its rivals. You carry the confidence of the apex predator, the certainty that comes from knowing you are the only one left." Dr. Grant's voice came through Jake's communicator. "Captain, I'm detecting something strange in the planet's geological record. There are signs of massive fires and environmental destruction dating back thousands of years. Whatever happened to those other species, it wasn't natural." "Tell me about your homeworld," the dragon said, ignoring the communication. "How many intelligent species share it with you?" Jake opened his mouth to answer, then stopped. Earth had only humans. There were no other intelligent species on his planet. There had been others once, long ago, but they were gone now. The Neanderthals, the Denisovans, others whose names were lost to time. They had all disappeared as modern humans, spread across the world. "Only humans," he said quietly. "As I thought," Flameheart Devourer said with satisfaction. "You are kin to us, whether you admit it or not. Your species has the eyes of the culling, the mark of those who have eliminated their competition. This is why I will treat with you as equals rather than prey." The dragon stood from his throne and approached Jake up close. The alien was even more terrifying, but Jake found himself meeting those burning eyes without flinching. In them, he saw the same cold intelligence he had seen in the Velthra pack leader's golden gaze. "We should discuss an alliance," the Overlord said. Apex predators must stick together in this galaxy. There are so many weak species out there who do not understand the necessity of proper culling. As they talked, Jake felt a growing sense of unease. Two different alien species from two different worlds, and both had immediately recognized something in human eyes. Both had spoken of humans as fellow predators, as creatures who had eliminated their competition. What did they see that Jake could not? The water world of Thalassa stretched endlessly in all directions, its surface broken only by small islands that looked like scattered dots from space. Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the Wanderer, watching the blue planet turn slowly. Beneath them, unlike the previous worlds they had visited, this one seemed peaceful. The oceans were calm, and the few land masses were covered in what looked like peaceful forests. Captain, we're getting sonar pings from deep underwater, reported Navigator Rick Stone from his station. Whatever's down there is big and moving in organized patterns. Looks like they're trying to communicate with us. Dr. Lisa Grant looked up from her research notes. Over the past 6 months, she had been documenting what she called the recognition phenomenon. Two different alien species had now looked at humans and immediately seen something familiar, something that marked them as fellow apex predators. The pattern was starting to worry her. How deep are they? Jake asked. About 3 miles down, sir. The pressure at that depth would crush our normal equipment, but the deep-sea shuttle should handle it. Jake nodded. Since their encounters with the Velthera and the Carnith, he had been having strange dreams. In them, he saw himself hunting, but not animals. He saw himself stalking something that looked almost human, but not quite right. The dreams felt more like memories than imagination, and they left him feeling sick when he woke up. Rick Kelly, you're with me, Jake announced. Botanist Kelly Davis had joined the crew after their last mission, and her expertise with plant life had already proven valuable. We're going down to meet our underwater neighbors. The deep-sea shuttle descended through the clear waters of Thalassa. As they went deeper, the sunlight faded until they were moving through a world of eternal darkness. The shuttle's lights cut through the black water, revealing strange creatures that looked like nothing from Earth's oceans. There, Kelly pointed through the transparent aluminum window. Do you see that? Jake looked where she was pointing and saw lights moving in the distance. But these were not the random flashing of deep-sea creatures. These lights moved with purpose, forming patterns that clearly showed intelligence behind them. They're beautiful, Rick whispered. The creatures approaching their shuttle were unlike anything Jake had ever imagined. They looked like giant squids, but their bodies were streamlined and graceful. Their skin changed colors constantly, creating patterns of light that pulsed and flowed like living artwork. Each creature was easily 30 feet long, with tentacles that moved with perfect coordination. The largest of the creatures approached their shuttle and pressed several tentacles against the hull. Jake could feel the vibrations through the ship's metal walls as the alien examined their vessel. Captain, I'm getting a communication signal, Rick reported. It's coming through the water as some kind of sonic pattern, but the computer is translating it into visual displays. On the main screen, patterns of light began to form words. Welcome, surface dwellers. I am current writer of Endless Depths, speaker for the Deepmaw Collective. You have traveled far to reach our realm. Jake activated the communication system. I'm Captain Jake Morrison of the Earthship Wanderer. We come seeking peaceful contact with your people. The alien's response came as a complex pattern of lights that hurt Jake's eyes to look at directly. When the computer finished translating, the message was simple but somehow unsettling. Your eyes hold the patience of the deep hunter. You have learned to wait, to strike when the moment is perfect. You have learned to work together to bring down prey larger than yourselves. There it was again. The same recognition that Jake had seen in the Velthera's golden eyes and the Carnith's burning gaze. This creature, living in the crushing depths of an alien ocean, was seeing something in humans that Jake still could not understand. I'm not sure what you mean, Jake said, though his voice lacked conviction. Come, the alien communicated. Let us show you the history of our world. Perhaps then you will understand what we see in your kind. The shuttle followed the group of deep-maw creatures deeper into the ocean. As they descended, Jake began to see structures on the seafloor. At first, he thought they were natural formations, but as they got closer, he realized they were ruins. Cities built by hands that were not deep-maw hands. "Those buildings," Kelly said softly, "they're not designed for creatures like our hosts." "No," Jake agreed. "They're built for something else entirely." Current Rider of Endless Depths guided them to a massive structure that looked like it had once been a great dome. Now it was broken and covered in the growth of countless years underwater. Through the cracks in the dome, Jake could see the remains of what had once been a thriving city. "This was the home of the surface swimmers," the alien explained. "They were the first intelligent species to evolve on our world. They built cities on the land and in the shallow waters. They believed the oceans belonged to them. What happened to them?" Jake asked, though he was beginning to suspect the answer. "We happened to them," Current Rider of Endless Depths replied without shame. "For millions of years, we were content to hunt the great beasts of the deep. But as we grew more intelligent, we realized that the surface swimmers were taking all the best hunting grounds. They were weak, but they were numerous. So we learned to work together." The shuttle moved through the underwater ruins, and Jake saw evidence of what had happened here. Massive tears in the metal structures, marks that could only have been made by the powerful tentacles of the deep-maw. Buildings that had been pulled down into the depths, their inhabitants dragged away to feed the creatures of the abyss. "It took us 3,000 years to eliminate them completely," the alien continued. "We learned to coordinate our attacks to strike their coastal cities simultaneously. We learned to be patient, to wait for the perfect moment to drag their ships down into the darkness. They never knew what hit them." Kelly turned away from the window, her face pale. "You wiped out an entire species." "We eliminated competition," Current Rider of Endless Depths corrected. "Just as your species has?" "Done. I can see it in your eyes, the memory of the long hunt. You have learned to work together to bring down prey that no single hunter could take alone. You have learned the patience of the deep predator." Jake felt cold despite the shuttle's heating system. "How can you see that?" "Because we recognize our own kind," the alien replied. "The eyes of the apex predator are always the same, no matter what form the body takes. You carry the memory of the great culling in your genetics. Your species has eliminated its competition just as we eliminated ours." Dr. Grant's voice came through the communication system from the ship above. "Captain, I'm detecting more ruins spread across the ocean floor. This isn't isolated. The entire planet shows signs of systematic destruction of coastal and shallow water civilizations." As they continued their tour of the underwater graveyard, Jake found himself thinking about Earth's oceans. How many species had humans driven to extinction? How many had disappeared not through natural selection, but through human expansion and hunting? "Tell me about your homeworld," Current Rider of Endless Depths said. "How many intelligent species share the land with you?" "Just humans," Jake replied automatically. "As I thought," the alien's lights pulsed with satisfaction. "You understand the necessity of eliminating competition. This is why we will treat you as equals rather than prey. The galaxy is full of weak species who do not understand the natural order. They spread across many worlds, taking resources that should belong to the strong." "What do you mean?" Rick asked. "There are species out there who have never eliminated their competition," the alien explained. "They share their worlds with multiple intelligent races. They cooperate instead of dominating. They are weak, and they make the galaxy weak. But species like yours, like ours, we understand that only the strongest should survive." As they ascended back toward the surface, Jake stared out at the ruins of the surface swimmers' civilization. 3 different worlds, 3 different apex predator species. And all of them had immediately recognized something in human eyes. All of them had spoken of humans as fellow eliminators. As creatures who had removed their competition, the pattern was becoming impossible to ignore. Jake was beginning to understand what these aliens saw when they looked at him. They saw the eyes of a species that had done exactly what they had done. They saw the mark of the successful predator, the one who had eliminated all rivals. But what did that say about humanity? What did it mean that every apex predator in the galaxy recognized humans as fellow killers? Jake closed his eyes and tried not to think about the dreams that had been haunting him. Dreams of hunting creatures that looked almost human but not quite. Dreams that felt more like genetic memories than imagination when he opened his eyes. Again, current rider of Endless Depths was watching him through the shuttle's window. In the alien's dark eyes, Jake saw the same cold recognition. He had seen in the Velthera and the Carnith, he saw the eyes of a killer looking at another killer. And, for the first time, Jake was afraid of what that meant. The red dwarf star Proxima Centauri cast its dim light across the surface of the third planet in the system. Captain Jake Morrison stood on the observation deck of the Wanderer, watching the world below through the reinforced windows. This planet was different from the others they had visited. The surface was covered in strange, geometric patterns that stretched for thousands of miles, like a giant circuit board carved into the ground itself. "Captain, we're receiving multiple signals from the surface," reported Security Team Leader Alex Turner. "Hundreds of them, all perfectly synchronized. It's like the entire planet is speaking to us at once." Jake rubbed his temples, trying to push away the headache that had been growing stronger with each world they visited. The dreams were getting worse. Every night he saw himself hunting through dark forests, tracking creatures that walked upright but were not quite human. In the dreams he was not alone. There were others with him, other humans, and they moved together like a pack of wolves. Dr. Lisa Grant approached with a tablet full of data. Over the past 9 months, she had been studying the pattern they had discovered. Every apex predator species they encountered immediately recognized humans as fellow predators. All of them had eliminated competing intelligent species on their homeworlds. The correlation was too strong to be coincidence. "The signals are coming from what looks like a massive hive structure," Lisa reported. "The entire planet appears to be one giant colony. Whatever lives down there, they work together. On a scale we've never seen before." Medic Dr. Rachel Kim joined them at the observation windows. "The atmospheric readings are strange, too. The air composition shows signs of massive industrial activity, but also signs of ecological collapse. It's like they've completely reshaped their world's environment." Jake made his decision. "Alex, Rachel, you're with me. We're going down to meet whoever runs this place." The shuttle descended through the thin atmosphere of Proxima Centauri C as they got closer to the surface. Jake could see that the geometric patterns were actually massive structures made of some kind of black material. They stretched from horizon to horizon, creating a network of tunnels and chambers that covered the entire planet. "There," Rachel pointed to a large opening in the structure. "That looks like it might be designed for spacecraft." They landed in a chamber that was clearly built for receiving visitors. The walls were covered in the same geometric patterns they had seen from space, but up close Jake could see that they were not just decorative. They pulsed with a faint light that seemed to follow some kind of rhythm. As they stepped out of the shuttle, Jake heard a sound that made his skin crawl. It was like the buzzing of a billion insects, but underneath it was something else: intelligence, purpose. The sound was coming from everywhere at once, from the walls, from the floor, from the air itself. "Welcome, mammalian visitors," the voice said, though Jake could not see who was speaking. "I am the Queen of the Vex Collective. You have traveled far to reach our unified world." The chamber they stood in began to change. The walls shifted and moved, creating a space that was more comfortable for the human visitors. From hidden openings in the floor, creatures began to emerge. Jake had seen insects before, but nothing like these. Each Vex was about the size of a human, but built like a giant ant with 6 legs and 4 arms. Their bodies were covered in a hard shell that looked like black metal, and their heads were dominated by large compound eyes that reflected the light like dark mirrors. But it was not their appearance that made Jake's blood run cold. It was the way they moved. Hundreds of them poured into the chamber, but they moved as one entity. Every step was perfectly coordinated, every gesture synchronized. They were not individuals. They were parts of a single, vast intelligence. "You carry the memory of the great culling in your genetics," the Queen's voice came from all the creatures at once. "Your species has the eyes of those who have eliminated their competition. You have done what we have done." There it was again. The same recognition that Jake had seen in 3 other apex predator species, but this time it felt different, more certain, more final. "I'm Captain Jake Morrison," he said, trying to keep his voice steady. "We come seeking peaceful contact." "With your collective?" The Vex creatures tilted their heads in unison, studying the humans with their compound eyes. "Fascinating," the Queen said. "You maintain the illusion of individuality, but underneath, you are a pack species. You have learned to work together, to eliminate threats to your survival." Alex shifted uncomfortably beside Jake. "What do you mean by elimination?" "Come," the Queen said. "Let us show you the history of our world. Perhaps then you will understand what we see in your kind." The Vex led them through corridors that seemed to stretch forever. The walls were covered in what looked like historical records, carved into the black material in intricate detail. As they walked, Jake began to understand what he was seeing. "These are battle records," Rachel whispered. "They're documenting wars." "Not wars," the Queen corrected. "Cullings." When the Vex first achieved collective consciousness, this world was home to 47 different intelligent species. Each had their own territories, their own civilizations, their own ways of life. Jake felt sick to his stomach. What happened to them? "We absorbed the useful ones and eliminated the rest," the Queen said with no emotion at all. "The builders were skilled at construction, so we kept them until we learned their techniques. The singers had beautiful voices, so we used them for communication until we developed our own methods. The fighters were strong, so we studied their tactics until we surpassed them." "And then?" Alex asked. "Then we eliminated them all," the Queen replied. 47 species reduced to 1. It was the logical course of action. Competition wastes resources. Diversity creates conflict. Unity creates strength. They entered a vast chamber filled with what looked like monuments. But as Jake got closer, he realized they were not monuments at all. They were trophies. Skulls and bones and artifacts from the species that the Vex had eliminated. "The gentle ones believed in peace," the Queen explained as they walked among the remains. "They tried to negotiate with us, to find ways for all species to coexist. We kept them alive the longest because their naivety was amusing." The warrior. "Clans fought us for 300 years before we finally eliminated the last of them. The deep thinkers hid in underground cities, believing they could wait us out. We dug them out and absorbed their knowledge before disposing of them." Rachel turned away from the display, but Jake found himself drawn to it. In the bones and artifacts, he saw the story of an entire world's worth of intelligent life, all eliminated by one species that had decided it was superior. "Why are you showing us this?" he asked. "Because you understand," the Queen said. "I can see it in your eyes. Your species has walked the same path we have. You have eliminated your competition, just as we eliminated ours. The only difference is that you did it so long ago that you have forgotten the details." Jake felt the truth of those words hit him like a physical blow. "We're not like you. Are you not?" The Queen asked. "Tell me, Captain Morrison, how many intelligent species share your homeworld?" "To just humans," Jake replied automatically. "And how many intelligent species existed on your world before humans became dominant?" Jake opened his mouth to answer, then stopped. He thought about the archaeological evidence he had learned about in school: Neanderthals, Denisovans, Homo erectus, Homo habilis. All the different human species that had once lived on Earth. "There were others," he said quietly. "And where are they now?" the Queen pressed. Jake could not answer. He knew where they were. They were extinct, all of them. Modern. Humans were the only human species left alive, and they had appeared just as all the others had disappeared. "You eliminated them," the Queen said with certainty. Perhaps not as systematically as we eliminated our competition, but you eliminated them nonetheless. You carry the genetic memory of successful genocide. This is why every apex predator species in the galaxy recognizes you as kin. Alex stepped forward. That's not true. Humans aren't killers. The Queen's compound eyes focused on him. Are you not? Tell me, how many species has humanity driven to extinction since you developed technology? How many ecosystems have you destroyed? How many times have you gone to war with your own kind? Jake felt the world spinning around him. Everything the Queen was saying felt true, but it was a truth he had never wanted to face. Humans had spread across Earth and eliminated everything that competed with them. They had driven countless species to extinction. They had fought wars that killed millions of their own kind. We're not proud of those things, Rachel said. We're trying to be better, perhaps, the Queen said. But you cannot change what you are. You are apex predators just as we are. The difference is that we embrace our nature while you try to deny it. This is why the galaxy fears species like ours. We remind them of what evolution truly means. As they walked back through the corridors filled with the remains of 47 extinct species, Jake felt something breaking inside him. For months, he had been trying to understand what alien predators saw in human eyes. Now he knew. The conference room on Earth Station Alpha was completely silent. Captain Jake Morrison stood at the front of the room, his hands shaking slightly as he prepared to deliver the most disturbing report in human history. Around the large table sat the 12 members of the Colonial Council, the group that made decisions for all of humanity's space exploration efforts. Counselor Peter Hayes, a tall man with gray hair and stern eyes, leaned forward in his chair. Captain Morrison, your preliminary reports have been concerning. Are you telling us that every intelligent species you've encountered has some kind of recognition response to humans? Jake nodded slowly. Yes, sir, but not all species, only the apex predators. The species that have eliminated their competition. Dr. Lisa Grant activated the main display screen, which showed images from their encounters with 4 different alien species, the Volf-like Velthera, the dragon-like Carnith, the squid-like Deepmaw, and the insect-like Vex. Each image showed the moment when the alien leaders had stared into human eyes and seen something familiar. Every one of these species immediately recognized us as fellow predators, Lisa explained to the council. But more than that, they specifically recognized us as a species that has eliminated competing intelligent life forms. Counselor Sarah Martinez, a woman who had spent her career studying human psychology, shook her head. That's impossible. Humans are not genocidal by nature. We may have competed with other species, but we didn't systematically eliminate them. That's what I thought too, Jake said quietly. But the evidence suggests otherwise. Lisa touched a control, and the screen changed to show a map of Earth from 50,000 years ago. Different colored areas marked the territories of various human species. When modern humans first left Africa, the world was populated by at least 6 different human species. Neanderthals in Europe and Asia, Denisovans in Asia, Homo erectus in various locations, Homo floresiensis on isolated islands, several others that we're still discovering through fossil evidence. The map animated, showing the spread of modern humans across the world. As the blue area representing Homo sapiens expanded, the other colored areas began to shrink and disappear. Coincidence, Counselor Hayes said firmly. Natural selection, climate change, disease. There are many reasons why those species went extinct. That's what we've always told ourselves, Lisa replied. But look at the timing. The animation slowed down, showing the dates more clearly. In every region where modern humans appeared, the other human species disappeared within a few thousand years. Europe, Asia, Southeast Asia, even isolated islands. The pattern is too consistent to be natural, Jake stepped forward. The aliens we've met, they don't see this as evil or wrong. To them, it's just evolution. The strong eliminate the weak. But they recognize the signs of it in our genetics, in our behavior, in our eyes. Counselor David Chun, an elderly man who had been silent until now, spoke up. What signs? What exactly do they see? The patience of the hunter, Jake replied, remembering the words of current writer of Endless Depths. The ability to work together to bring down prey larger than ourselves. The confidence that comes from knowing we eliminated all competition. Dr. Grant brought up another display, this one showing archaeological evidence from various human sites around the world. We've been finding more evidence in recent years. Tools made from the bones of other human species. Cave paintings that show modern humans hunting Neanderthals. Genetic evidence of interbreeding followed by rapid population decline in the other species. You're suggesting that our ancestors hunted other humans to extinction? Counselor Martinez asked, her voice barely above a whisper. I'm suggesting that's exactly what the alien predators see when they look at us, Lisa replied. They see a species that systematically eliminated its competition over the course of thousands of years, and they respect us for it. The room fell silent again. Jake could see the council members struggling with the implications of what they were hearing. These were people who had spent their lives believing that humanity was inherently good, that humans were explorers and builders rather than destroyers. There's more, Jake said reluctantly. The Vex Queen told me something else. She said that every apex predator species in the galaxy eventually faces the same choice we're facing now. What choice? Counselor Hayes asked. Whether to embrace what we are or continue to deny it. Jake activated another display, showing a map of known space with the locations of various alien civilizations marked. According to the Vex, there are 3 types of intelligent species in the galaxy. Apex predators who eliminated their competition, peaceful species who learned to coexist with other intelligent life, and prey species who were dominated by others. The map showed clusters of different colored dots representing the 3 types of species. The apex predators were scattered but powerful. The peaceful species formed large cooperative networks. The prey species huddled together in protected regions of space. The apex predators have formed something called the Dominion, Jake continued. They respect each other because they understand the necessity of elimination. The peaceful species have the Harmony Coalition, based on cooperation and mutual aid. The prey species have the Survival Compact, focused on protection and hiding. Counselor Chun leaned back in his chair. And they want us to choose which group to join. The Dominion has already extended an invitation, Jake confirmed. They see us as natural members. Fellow predators who understand that only the strong should survive. Absolutely not, Counselor Martinez said firmly. I don't care what our ancestors may have done. Modern humanity has moved beyond that. We don't eliminate other species. We protect them, do we? Dr. Grant asked quietly. She brought up statistics showing Earth's current biodiversity. Since humans developed industrial technology, we've driven thousands of species to extinction. We've destroyed entire ecosystems. We fought wars that killed hundreds of millions of our own kind. That's different, Counselor Hayes protested. That's not systematic elimination, that's just progress. Is it? Jake asked. Or is it exactly what the aliens see in our eyes? The same pattern our ancestors followed when they eliminated the Neanderthals and Denisovans, just on a larger scale. The debate continued for hours. Some council members insisted that humanity had evolved beyond its predatory origins. Others argued that the evidence was too strong to ignore. A few suggested that maybe the alien predators were right, that elimination of competition was just natural selection at work. Finally, Counselor Hayes called for order. This is too important a decision to make quickly. We need time to study this information, to understand the implications. Time might be something we don't have, Jake warned. The galaxy is watching us. They're waiting to see which path humanity chooses. And our choice will determine how every other species treats us for the rest of our existence. As the council members filed out of the room, Jake remained behind with Dr. Grant. They stood looking at the displays showing the spread of modern humans across Earth and the corresponding disappearance of other human species. Do you really think we're killers? Lisa asked. Jake thought about the dreams that still haunted him every night. Dreams of hunting through dark forest, tracking creatures that looked almost human but not quite right. Dreams that felt more real than memories. "I think we're whatever we choose to be," he said finally, "but I also think we can't run from what we were." The aliens see something in our eyes because it's really there. The question is whether we let it define us or whether we define ourselves. Outside the conference room windows, Earth turned slowly in the darkness of space. Somewhere out there, alien civilizations waited to see what humanity would become. Predator or protector, killer or guardian. The choice would shape not just humanity's future, but the future of every species they encountered. And in the depths of space, other apex predators watched and waited, seeing in human eyes the familiar mark of successful genocide. 3 years had passed since Captain Jake Morrison first looked into the golden eyes of a Velthora pack leader and saw something familiar looking back. Now Admiral Morrison stood on the bridge of the massive starship Unity, humanity's newest and most advanced vessel. Around him worked a crew that included many familiar faces from his original mission, along with new officers who had joined humanity's expanding exploration fleet. Dr. Lisa Grant, now wearing the uniform of chief xenobiologist for the colonial fleet, stood beside him as they approached the neutral space station where representatives from across the galaxy had gathered. Commander Tony Brooks remained at his security post, though his role had evolved to include diplomatic protection. At the communications station, Lieutenant Amy Price coordinated with dozens of different alien species, each with their own languages and customs. "Admiral, we're receiving docking clearance from the station," Amy reported. "They're directing us to Bay 7. The Dominion ships are in Bays 1 through 3. The Harmony Coalition has Bays 4 through 6, and the Survival Compact is using the smaller bays on the outer ring." Jake nodded and looked out at the massive space station that had been built specifically for this gathering. The Convergence, as it was called, would determine humanity's place in the galactic community. Every major civilization had sent representatives to witness humanity's choice over the past 3 years. The pattern had held. Humanity had made contact with over 40 different intelligent species, and the results were always the same. Apex predator species immediately recognized humans as fellow eliminators and treated them with respect. Peaceful species remained cautious but were willing to work with humanity. Prey species showed varying degrees of fear and submission. "Sir," Dr. Grant said quietly, "the final analysis is complete. We've confirmed contact with 17 different apex predator species, 22 peaceful species, and 14 prey species. The pattern is absolutely consistent." Jake felt the weight of that knowledge. 17 different predator species from 17 different worlds, and all of them had looked at humans and seen the same thing. The eyes of a species that had eliminated its competition, the mark of successful genocide. "Any word from Earth?" he asked. "The Colonial Council is still divided," Amy replied. "Counselor Hayes is leading the faction that wants to join the Dominion. He says we should embrace our nature as apex predators. Counselor Martinez leads the group pushing for the Harmony Coalition. She believes we can evolve beyond our predatory instincts. And the third option? A few council members think we should stay independent, but that's not really an option according to our alien contacts. The galaxy doesn't work that way. You're either part of one of the 3 factions, or you're considered a potential threat to all of them." The Unity docked at the station with barely a vibration. As Jake prepared to disembark, he thought about the choice that lay ahead. The dreams still came to him sometimes, visions of hunting through ancient forests, tracking creatures that looked almost human but not quite. He had stopped trying to convince himself they were just nightmares. They felt too much like genetic memories. The main conference chamber of the station was enormous, with sections designed to accommodate the environmental needs of dozens of different species. The Dominion representatives sat in one area, their predatory confidence evident even across species lines. Flameheart Devourer of the Karnath nodded respectfully as Jake entered. Growlsinger of Stone Paths of the Velthora showed his sharp teeth in what passed for a smile among his people. In another section, The peaceful species of the Harmony Coalition watched with cautious hope. These were beings who had learned to share their worlds with multiple intelligent species, who had built civilizations based on cooperation rather than domination. Their leaders were diverse, ranging from tall, plant-like beings who communicated through chemical signals to small, bird-like creatures with brilliant feathers that changed color with their emotions. The Survival Compact occupied the smallest section, their representatives staying close together for mutual protection. These were species that had been prey to others, who had survived by hiding or by being too small to threaten anyone. Some looked almost human, which made Jake wonder what their predators had been like. "Representatives of humanity," spoke a voice that seemed to come from everywhere at once. The station's artificial intelligence had been programmed to translate for all species simultaneously. "You have spent 3 years learning about the galactic community. The time has come for you to declare your allegiance." Jake stepped forward to the center of the chamber. The eyes of hundreds of alien beings focused on him, waiting for his words. He could feel the weight of history in this moment. The choice he made would determine how humanity was viewed by every other intelligent species in the galaxy. "Before I speak for humanity," Jake said, "I want to acknowledge what we have learned about ourselves. The apex predator species have recognized something in us that we had forgotten. Our ancestors did eliminate competing human species. We carry the genetic memory of that success. We are predators, whether we want to admit it or not." A murmur went through the chamber. The Dominion representatives leaned forward with interest. The peaceful species shifted nervously. The prey species moved closer together. "But," Jake continued, "we have also learned something else about ourselves. We have the capacity to choose what we become. Yes, we eliminated the Neanderthals and Denisovans. Yes, we have driven other species to extinction. Yes, we have fought wars and committed acts of terrible violence. But we have also learned to feel guilt about those things. We have learned to try to be better." Flameheart Devourer spoke up. "Guilt is weakness, human. The strong do not apologize for their strength." "Maybe," Jake replied. "Or maybe guilt is what separates us from our ancestors. Maybe the ability to feel bad about eliminating our competition is what gives us the chance to stop doing it." Current Rider of Endless Depths rippled his tentacles in what Jake had learned was amusement. "You cannot change your nature. You are apex predators. You will always be apex predators." "You're right," Jake said. "We will always be apex predators. But that doesn't mean we have to act like our ancestors. We can choose to use our predatory instincts to protect rather than eliminate. We can hunt down threats to weaker species instead of hunting the weak species themselves." The chamber fell silent. Jake could see confusion in many of the alien faces. This was not the kind of choice they had expected. "Humanity chooses none of the 3 factions," Jake announced. "We choose to create a 4th path. We will acknowledge our nature as apex predators, but we will use that nature to protect rather than dominate. We will work with all 3 factions, serving as mediators and guardians." The Queen of the Vex spoke through her representatives. "Impossible. Apex predators do not protect prey. It goes against evolution." "Then maybe it's time for evolution." "To try something new," Jake replied. "We propose to establish the Guardian Covenant. Any species, from any faction, can call on us when they need protection from genuine threats. We will hunt down the pirates, enslavers, and genocidal maniacs that plague this galaxy. We will use our predatory skills to eliminate the real predators." "Doctor?" Grant stepped forward with a tablet containing humanity's formal proposal. "We will not hide from what we are, but we will not be limited by it either. We carry the eyes of predators, but we also carry the capacity for growth." The debate that followed lasted for days. Some species were skeptical, others were intrigued. The Dominion argued that humanity was denying its true nature. The Harmony Coalition worried that humans were too dangerous to trust. The Survival Compact was torn between hope and fear. In the end, it was a representative of the prey species who spoke the words that changed everything. A small, rabbit-like being stood up on shaking legs and said, We have lived in fear of predators our entire history. But if there were predators who hunted other predators instead of hunting us, maybe we could finally stop being afraid. The vote was close, but humanity's proposal was accepted. The Guardian Covenant was established as the fourth galactic faction, with humanity as its founding member. Within months, other species began to join. Some were former prey species looking for protection. Others were peaceful species who wanted to help defend the weak. A few were even reformed apex predators who had grown tired of the cycle of domination. Jake stood in his quarters aboard the Unity, looking out at the stars. The dreams still came sometimes, but they were different now. Instead of hunting creatures that looked almost human, he dreamed of hunting the hunters. Instead of eliminating competition, he dreamed of eliminating threats. A soft chime announced a visitor. Dr. Grant entered, carrying 2 cups of coffee and a tired smile. "Any regrets?" she asked, handing him one of the cups. Jake thought about the choice they had made. Humanity would never be fully trusted by the prey species, who would always see the predator in human eyes. The peaceful species would always be cautious around humans, knowing what they were capable of. Even some humans questioned whether they had made the right choice.